We're told of a legend in Twilight Princess, of a race which was closest to the gods, even more so than the Hylians. This tribe is rumored to have created the Kingdom of Hyrule along with the new capital within the heavens. No one has seen or heard from them since. It's said that, to this day, the Sky People continue to live above the clouds, and the mystery of who this tribe is and where they came from continues to remain unsolved. Until today.
William?
Yeah, what's up?
I get how you're trying to go with that whole dramatic narration thing, and that's all well and good, but have you actually seen what you're talking about?
Well, I hardly think their appearance has an impact on the intro to this video. Oh, sweet Hylia and all that is holy. It's like one of the gods wondered what would happen if you mixed the genetics of a Hylian and Ooccoo together. Are we really going to make an entire episode on this thing? Can't we just go back to Breath of the Wild 2 theories? Those were the days. With that said, the Oocca of Twilight Princess are, without a doubt, one of the game's most bizarre mysteries. Also, one of the creepiest things about it, and that's a lot to say considering we're talking about Twilight Princess. A tribe which is said to be even closer to the gods than Hylians, and who resides in their capital found within the heavens. The city in the sky is one of the game's final dungeons, holding the last shard of the Mirror of Twilight. They were the creators of the Dominion Rod, an item found within the Temple of Time and used to collect several sky characters of the Ancient Book. Also passed down by the Oocca, later used to restore power to the rod.
Oh my gosh, is that a Zonai swirl?
But who or what exactly is this tribe? Our best bet is looking at the content from Twilight Princess, as that's the only game which features this race. Most of the information we need comes from Shad, a young man who developed an interest in the race of sky beings. Unfortunately, the localization was butchered as it suggests that the Hylians were created by the Oocca. The direct translations tell us a different story, that the sky beings had created Hyrule itself. It's a commonly accepted theory that the Hylians, the race closest to the gods, built Hyrule. But, truth to be told, there's a theory that, a long time ago, there was a race closer to the gods than the Hylians, and they created Hyrule. This shouldn't get mixed up with the creation story we hear in Ocarina of Time, where the golden goddesses Din, Farore, and Nehru created the world itself. The Sky People are rumored to have created Hyrule, and Hyrule is the name of the kingdom, not the world it resides in, just like Labrynna and Holodrum. Continuing through Shad's dialogue gives us more information on what happened to the Sky People after the birth of the Hylians. And, apparently, at the same time the Hylians were born, they built a new capital, hovered into the skies along with that capital, and lived there. And it's said amongst us scholars that they're living in the floating capital somewhere in the skies. This capital mentioned is most likely the one we explore in Twilight Princess, referred to as the City in the Sky. Not only is it, well, in the sky, but we see it inhabited by several of the Sky People. That's another detail worth mentioning. Only the localization refers to them as Oocca. This will be brought up later on, but for now, know that Oocca and Sky People relate to the same tribe.
The Oocca are without a doubt one of Zelda's strangest creatures, with bird-like bodies and heads with humanoid faces. The two most notable members of the tribe are Ooccoo and her son, nicknamed Ooccoo Jr. Link encounters this pair as early on as the Forest Temple, giving Link the choice to warp out of the dungeon and return later to the room which he warped from. Ooccoo can be found in the following dungeons up until City in the Sky, where the two of them will remain for the rest of the game. Ooccoo has no problem communicating with Link, being familiar with the Hylian language. However, the Oocca have developed their own language, which to the hero sounds like jabbering and squawking. In fact, the sound made by the Oocca is a softer version of Wind Waker's Miniblins. The design of the Oocca may have been inspired by a painting created by MC Escher titled Another World. The structure itself is a paradox, and standing in the archways are birds with human faces. These creatures are based off of a real-world sculpture that Escher's father-in-law had given him. In fact, its first appearance is in a lithograph, still life with spherical mirror. Not only do the Oocca have a similar design as the sculpture, but some are seen walking on the walls of the city in the sky, similar to Escher's painting. While this gives us a possible answer for their odd appearance, once you take a step back and really think about it, certain parts of the story presented in Twilight Princess don't add up. The Oocca were responsible for not only the construction of their capital, but the ancient technology used to keep it airborne. Their technological prowess extends beyond the city in the sky, such as the sky cannon used to transport the hero to their capital, and the Dominion Rod, a piece of ancient technology infused with magic, which the hero obtains in the Temple of Time. It's hard to believe that a tribe of this appearance was capable of pulling off such feats. Not only that, but Impaz tells us that at one time the Oocca were in contact with the royal family of Hyrule. Communication was done through the Dominion Rod, held by a person who was dubbed the Messenger of the Heavens. Link inherits this title upon retrieving the rod and uses it to uncover the Sky Cannon. Along the way, he restores the Sky characters of the ancient Sky Book, an heirloom passed down from the Oocca to the Sheikah. By royal decree, they were to protect the book and give it to the Messenger of the Heavens, and after generations of guarding it, the book was finally passed on to Link. The very fact that the Dominion Rod is located within the Temple of Time, the same place which the Master Sword rests, is testament to the Oocca's relationship with the royal family. And the 5th dungeon in the game, Snow Peak Ruins, has a picture of the city in the sky on the wall. The military equipment and banners suggest this was some sort of base for the royal family's soldiers. Perhaps this is where the Messenger of the Heavens communicated with the Sky People. Given this information, we can state the following. The Oocca have been around as long as the birth of Hyrule. Sometime later, they built a capital which was raised to the heavens where they now live. The tribe is closely tied to both ancient technology and magic, and maintained contact with the royal family for a certain period of time. The question is, what does this all mean?
While Twilight Princess is the only game the Oocca are featured in, this doesn't limit our investigation to that title alone, because there's another group which matches this description. The Wind Tribe from the Minish Cap. These people lived on the surface of Hyrule until they gained mastery over the winds. The Wind Tribe then abandoned their own home and used wind magic to move the Palace of Winds to the sky where it now rests. The hero of Minish travels to the Wind Ruins, where he ventures through the Fortress of Winds in search of the wind element. But this too was taken above the clouds, alongside the palace where it currently resides. The tribe lives within a house resting on the cloud tops, guarding the Palace of Winds and its element. The tribe's elder tells us these events took place long ago, and then an age before that. The very state of the Wind Ruins shows us just how much time has passed since their ascent to the heavens. Despite having the appearance of a typical human, the tribe is able to walk on clouds. It's implied by Haley that those who are pure of heart can do so. One other notable feature comes from the color of their hair. It's red, just like the Gerudo. More information about the tribe comes from bits and pieces scattered throughout the game. A part of the kinstone needed to gain access to the cloud tops is held by the spirit of King Gusaf, one of Hyrule's leaders in ancient times. The direct translations of his figurines state that he seems to have had an awfully good relationship with the Wind people who dwelt in the Wind Ruins. The tribe not only has close ties to magic, but also has connections to ancient technology. The Wind Ruins is home to many Armos, which, according to the figurine description, were built by the Minish and given to the Wind tribe. The Ocarina of Wind found at the end of the Fortress of Winds was most likely constructed by this group, allowing Link to travel to the multiple wind crests throughout Hyrule. More importantly, the boss of this dungeon, Mazal, was built by the people of the Wind to repel intruders. A mechanical being, very similar to Goden from Tower of the Gods. I wouldn't be surprised if the Minish also had a hand in building this, since both the Armos and Mazal have accessible interiors. A tribe who lived on the surface for a period of time until ascending to the heavens, who excels at both magic and ancient technology, all while maintaining a good relationship with the royal family of Hyrule. If this all sounds familiar, well, it should. The Oocca from Twilight Princess share these traits. The Minish Cap is the second game to take place down the unification timeline. By the end of Skyward Sword, the humans of Skyloft returned to the surface and established the Kingdom of Hyrule. Around this era, After taking part in its creation, the Oocca built their new capital and ascended to the heavens. If this theory were to be true, these events are of the very same race seen in the Minish Cap. The Tribe of Winds maintained a good relationship with the royal family of Hyrule and later built the Dominion Rod and Sky Cannons to keep in contact with them. Over time, their relationship with the royal family deteriorated as the connection to their capital was lost. The Wind Tribe then underwent evolution to take a more bird-like appearance and became the Oocca. It's worth noting that only the localization of the game refers to this race as the Oocca. The direct translations are much more vague, with Shad using the term Sky People. The localization most likely got its name from Cucco, as the Oocca are used in a similar way that the Cuccos are. The player can grab them and hover for a short while in the air. The vagueness of their name in Twilight Princess, in my opinion, increases the chances of both tribes being one and the same. In fact, Russell tells us that the Oocca are called the ancestors of the Hylians, and the following image was shared on the official Japanese Zelda Twitter account. This was an early design for the Sky People, which was scrapped. What appears to be a humanoid figure, so I can promise that the argument of the Oocca looking nothing like a human doesn't make this possibility that unlikely. By the way, here's a direct translation of their tweet. Hey, it's Mallow, that auntie who can instantly transport you in and out of dungeons. Appears rather alien, but originally they would have had a more human-like appearance. What happened? I wonder.
There's one factor in all of this that we haven't yet considered: the Temple of Time from Twilight Princess. At first glance, it's simply the resting place of the Dominion Rod, but when you look into it further, the Oocca's influence on this sacred ground was astronomical. Along the walls of the Temple of Time are engravings which repeat throughout the dungeon and show what appears to be several figures dressed in robes, one of which is holding the Dominion Rod. This could be that era's Messenger of the Heavens, when the royal family was still in contact with the Sky People. And in the first room of the Temple of Time, right by the hallway which would lead to the Master Sword, the following words are etched into the stone: Sanctuary, Stone Statue, Master Sword, and Copy Rod. The Copy Rod is the name of the Dominion Rod in the Japanese version, and its name makes sense as the statues will literally copy Link's movement. It's quite odd that an item only appearing in one game is engraved into the Temple of Time right alongside the Master Sword. You know, one of the most important items in the entire Zelda series. And these carvings are found in both the GameCube and Wii version, therefore their canonicity is unarguable. It's clear that the Dominion Rod is closely tied to the temple, especially since the dungeon utilises its mechanic of controlling statues to solve the many puzzles. There's another pattern worth mentioning, one which appears on the Dominion Rod. Similar engravings are seen all across the temple, each one with a slightly different style. There's one on the Guardians before the Master Sword room, and on the bigger statues controlled by Link, including the ones in the boss room. And another version of it can be found on the bell-like objects used to transport the statues, the columns against the wall, and the temple doors. This is the symbol directly connected to the Dominion Rod. Most objects with this markings are one which involve the use of this item. At first glance, the one engraved into the giant statues differs from the design of the columns, bells, and doors. However, this is only part of that symbol. The hole in its chest completes the pattern, and the ball of green energy represents the sphere shown on the others. The functionality these statues have with the Dominion Rod suggests that these two are creations of the Oocca. They appear to run on a sort of energy. Given how the rod works, along with its colour, perhaps it's a sort of soul energy. Other creations of the Oocca could include the Armos within the Temple of Time and the two Guardians before the Master Sword room. Unlike the former, these two are run on a bluish sort of energy. And it's worth noting that the Guardians have a slightly different version of the Dominion Rod symbol on them. The blue dot in the middle of the symbol may represent the technology's permanent power source of blue energy. The Tower of the Gods has potential ties to the Sheikah with its technology such as Godan. What we see in the Temple of Time is perhaps the result of a collaboration between the Oocca and Sheikah. There's also an engraving of what appears to be a stylized version of the royal family's wing crest within the temple. At the top is a single triangle, a symbol commonly associated with force, and while this leads into speculation, the circle in the middle may represent the power cast by the Dominion Rod. At the time of Twilight Princess, the rod had lost its power and only reactivated with a spell from the ancient Skybook. It had to be stored somewhere so its power could be used by a messenger of the heavens thousands of years later without the need of this book, a place where time itself could be frozen. The Temple of Time.
The Oocca Link meets on his journey were in search of the Dominion Rod for its power to return them to the sky. The hero was key in opening the path to the Temple of Time's inner portion. We're not entirely sure how long Ooccoo was on the surface of Hyrule. The murals added in the HD version of Twilight Princess imply that Ooccoo had been around ever since Ocarina of Time. There are images depicting what may be Darunia, along with several panels showing a young hero of time. To the very right is a shot with two figures which should look familiar, Ooccoo and her son. In fact, Ooccoo Jr. is the only one of his kind we see in Twilight Princess, further solidifying that the ones shown on the mural are the very same. However, some recent information has come out, that these images were randomly thrown in by Tantalus, with none of the lore in mind. Therefore, we can't use them as evidence for Ooccoo's backstory. We do know that Ooccoo has not been in the city ever since the attack of Ogorok, as she first hears the news when traveling with Link. The Oocca clearly have some magic capabilities, allowing Link to teleport within dungeons. While they do have wings, they appear to use a form of wind magic to teleport him. Their ability to do it in the dungeons, combined with the fact Ooccoo can't use it to return to the city in the sky, implies that the magic is limited to a certain radius. The city in the sky is too far of a trip for her to make. The two possibilities I see are that the cannon was damaged after Ooccoo traveled to the surface and couldn't make it back, or that she had fallen off sometime before the events of Twilight Princess. If we believe that the Wind Tribe transformed into the Oocca because they lost communication with Hyrule's surface, the second option is much more likely. In addition, Chad is dressed in clothes which are covered in Oocca symbols, and his book has a full body picture of the Sky People. And the room holding the Sky Cannon beneath the Kakariko Sanctuary has its walls covered with ancient drawings of the Oocca. Not only do they have close ties with the Sheikah, as the statues over the sky characters are of owls, with the one beneath the sanctuary having an eye symbol, but we see Oocca drawings paired with Triforce symbolism. We also see the Wind Tribe's ruins paired with Triforce imagery. What's more telling is the symbol above the owl statues which hold sky characters. What looks like the end of a trident. That exact same image is found somewhere else. The House of the Wind Tribe. There's another symbol above the doors of City in the Sky which may or may not be of the same thing. The Wind Tribe Elder also mentions how they are aware of what happens on the surface world. Perhaps through the Dominion Rod, as it was used by the Sky People to keep in contact with the royal family. Another strange crest appears on both the ancient Skybook and the doors and floors of City in the Sky. Given what we know, this could very well be the symbol of the Oocca race, similar to the crests of the Zora or Gorons.
There's one more symbol in the City in the Sky, and it's a strange one. Along some of the walls are what appears to be circles wrapped around by half circles. In a way, it closely resembles the Mirror of Twilight and its stand. A symbol matching this style can be found on both the doors of the Palace of Twilight and behind Zant's throne. But what does it mean exactly? We're given a few details about the interlopers who were banished to the Twilight Realm. According to Lanayru, a group of people who excelled at magic appeared wishing to claim the Triforce for their own. It doesn't specify a single tribe, only that the interlopers consisted of magic wielders. The designs of the Palace of Twilight reference multiple symbols from other tribes, such as the Sheikah Eye, the Gerudo emblem, and even their own version of the royal family's wing crest. With this many references, it's entirely possible that the interlopers consisted of a group of different tribes. This may or may not include the Oocca. There's two other symbols seen which connect the two, twinning swirls on the doors and floor of the City in the Sky, appearing on the Twilight Curtain. And the seal on the owl statue beneath the Kakariko Sanctuary is quite similar to the Twilight symbol behind Zant's throne and some other places.
I hope you're still with us, as that was a lot of information to cover. We're mostly done with this video, though I did want to quickly address the other possibility. We don't know what happened to Skyloft post Skyward Sword, so it's very possible that some of the humans remained in the clouds, became the Wind Tribe, and later transformed into the Oocca. It's been theorized that Groose is the ancestor to the Gerudo, given his red hair, but he could also be ancestor to the Wind Tribe, or maybe even both. Though I feel that this theory does contradict with the lore of Minish Cap, unless we are to believe that the humans went up with Skyloft, then down, then up again as the Wind Tribe? Minish Cap was made before Skyward Sword, a game which solidified much of the series' lore, so perhaps the origins of The Legend of Zelda were different in Minish Cap. But at that point it becomes very subjective which what you choose to believe, so I'd prefer not to go down that route. And that's the mystery of the Oocca, the City in the Sky, and their possible connections to the Wind Tribe. Thank you for watching this theory. It certainly was a lot of information to go over, but not gonna lie, this has been one of my favorite projects to work on. I'd like to thank Zeltik for joining me on this video, and if you head over to his channel, you can watch a video where he and I discuss Snow Peak Ruins and its many secrets. A link to that will be down below. A few other quick thank yous go to Hyrule Gamer for a lot of the cinematic shots taken from Twilight Princess, thank you very much, LoruleanHistorian for most of the translations in this video, and Link for providing a lot of screenshots for this theory. I appreciate you all, thank you very much. Shout out to all my Patreons, you are all awesome. I frequently post on Twitter, so feel free to give me a follow over there. And you can find my Discord server down in the description. I've been NintendoBlackCrisis, and I will see you all next time.